Enormous housing crisis ahead 2023. Although the number of millennials who own their homes has reached an all-time high over the course of the last few years, things are changing rapidly for the worst. We are on the verge of an enormous housing crisis. The cost of housing is increasing at alarming rates as interest rates also continue to climb. Couple these two factors with the shrinking supply of affordable housing, and we have people feeling uneasy about their futures, unable to afford their own homes, causing stress and being overwhelmed by the prospects of future housing instability. To make matters even worse, the student loan debt crisis many millennials face leaves very little to save for a down payment or to get financing. Hello and welcome to another video of Finance Sense, where we cover all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. In this video, you will see the dramatic difference that millennial home ownership has become from one year to the next. But before we start, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment below if you enjoyed watching this video. And turn on the notification bell to keep posted. Now, without further ado, let's head on to the video. During the period in which the housing market was growing, first-time house buyers were making significant efforts to climb the housing ladder. Millennials were desperate to buy whatever piece of real estate they could get their hands on, so they paid cash despite property prices skyrocketing to all-time highs. Now, following a continuous decrease, another housing crisis ahead of 2023 that saw millennials scrambling out from the market is once again on the horizon. This time, however, the catastrophe is on the verge of occurring. According to a recent study of Census Bureau, the average age of house ownership has decreased for the first time in over a decade. This year witnessed a shift in the market as property values reached all-time highs. The interest rates went up and there was a significant decrease in inventory levels. Interest rates have been rising for approximately 100 years. However, the millennial generation has witnessed the most significant increase in interest rates in the course of their lives. And right along with that came an increase in the price of homes. Consequently, this has made it one of the most difficult periods for millennials to be able to afford homes to live in. Essentially, a sharp interest rate hike has made it harder to become a house owner than ever. The current situation around the world is a major shift in housing values. Most people are struggling to save enough money to make a down payment. While the average age of home ownership has hit an all-time low, millennials have been delayed for an average of 6 years in their search for the perfect homes. Home ownership among Americans aged 35 to 44 fell from 47% in 2016 to 31% this year. Additionally, this year, the median age of those purchasing a primary residence increased to 53 years. Approximately 27% of millennials could presently claim to be homeowners, compared to starting rates of 40% for each prior generation. First-time home purchasers are now at their lowest level in the recent 40 years, down from 34% to 26%. So how come this year hasn't been as terrific for millennial home buyers as last year was? Last year, we had a lot of assets like cash, savings, stocks, cryptocurrencies, stimulus checks, and aid programs. Also, even though property values went up both last year and this year, interest rates were kept close to zero, which made it easy for a lot of people to get loans. Because there was so much demand and competition for reasonably priced homes, while borrowing money was inexpensive, the median home value increased significantly. And we are now witnessing the effects of this trend. Existing homeowners have less motivation to put their homes on the market because they don't want to be priced out of the new market. They would like just to renovate their home. So to use an example from the Washington Post, let's say you buy a house for $450,000 and put down 20%, or $90,000. Your remaining principal value, which is now the loan value, is $360,000. Now, not all of the payments you make on your loan are directed to this principal amount. In reality, because of a process known as amortization, a large portion of it in the beginning is going toward the interest. This implies that a large portion of the loan's initial payment is used to pay interest. But as the loan ages or matures, the balance shifts, imagine a sliding scale, more and more in the favor of the principal. Now let's assume that you had a loan for $360,000 with a 3% interest rate. Since you would have to pay $186,000 in interest over the course of the loan, the house's $450,000 price would really end up costing you $636,000. If the interest rate increased to 5.3%, as it did in July of this year, you would only have to pay the $450,000 house an extra $360,000 in interest payments. However, some people succeeded in securing a 30-year mortgage at a 7% interest rate. Therefore, a loan with a $360,000 principal at a 7% interest rate over a 30-year period would only cost $500,000 in interest payments. At that time, you will have paid more in interest than the actual worth of the entire property. With the addition of the $502,000 in interest, it would bring the total to $950,000. But before we move on to the next segment of this video, I just want to ask you guys, what are your thoughts about this impending house crisis? Are you prepared to brace the impact of this situation? If the answer is yes, please let us know in the comment section below so that we can keep the conversation going. And with that, let's continue watching the video. Homes were far less expensive back then because income growth and housing value increases were closely correlated in the 1960s. However, after the 1970s, when we left the gold standard, income growth significantly slowed down and property values began to soar. However, it is unfair to suggest that everything is fine because a small number and a large number are growing at the same rate. It won't be eventually, and here is why. If the median annual income is $45,000 and the median house value is $450,000, a 10% increase in either would result in a $4,500 increase in the median yearly income and a $45,000 increase in the median home value. We're comparing $4,500 to $45,000, which is a 10 times difference. For that 10%, the larger figure is increasing far more than the smaller income number. That larger number will eventually surpass the smaller amount at some time. The lower number becomes entirely meaningless and out of place at this point. The most recent information available from BLS.gov shows that between October of the last year and October of this year, real average hourly wages decreased by 2%. Meanwhile, the most recent data from CoreLogic shows that yearly home value growth was 11.4%. Therefore, it follows that the larger number is increasing more quickly than the smaller income number, which is really decreasing. Fortunately, not everything is as horrible as it looks despite the data. The pandemic ultimately generated so many opportunities that millennials don't necessarily have to accept their fate. It is now simpler to find a job, especially when economists believe the labor market is too hot and bad for the economy, since qualified individuals are extremely difficult to find and businesses are vying for employees' talents. As we approach the 2023 housing market, millennials are finding themselves locked out of home ownership as interest rates and housing prices soar. This has resulted in a significant amount of millennials being forced to rent for much longer than anticipated. Hi, we hope you liked watching this video and learned something important. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on our videos. And make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. This is Finance Sense, helping you keep up with all the latest trends in the financial markets and the economy. Until next time.